Let's talk about mid-side EQ. Now, as explained in this month's edition of Future Music Magazine, mid-side EQ basically splits a stereo signal. So it splits it into the center channel and the sides. Now, the center channel, the mid, the mono, is everything that's identical in the left and right speaker, whereas the sides is everything that's different in the left and right speaker. For example, elements in the mix that are panned, wide stereo reverb. So let's, I'm going to use this UAD Brainworks mid-side EQ for the purpose of this demonstration. We can basically split a song in a way that is unique to mid-side EQ. The track that we're hearing is from an artist called Gary Beck, and the song is called Algoreal. Using this mid-side EQ, if you hear what I'm doing here, you're essentially splitting the signal. Right now we're listening just to the sides. Now we're listening to the center channel when I switch it here. And now we're listening to them combined. For a mastering engineer who is obviously only working with one song, not a bunch of tracks, unless it's stem mastering, of course, this is a hugely valuable tool. This gives you a range of options that standard EQ would not be able to achieve. It's also very useful and interesting to be able to listen to your song in this way, to split this information and see how much bass is in the wide sides, for example, to see if there's anything interesting in the sides that you can enhance, or any strange resonances in the sides that you can subtract from the overall sound without influencing the center channel, for example. Let's boost the cymbals in the sides and see how that sounds, see if that's useful. In this track in particular, the hi-hat in the center channel is quite strong and reasonably harsh, so I don't think I would like to encourage that to become louder, but there is some nice reverb and some nice some air in the sides that I think I can bring out. So we're listening to the sides right now. You really overemphasize it to see what you're aiming at. And now we're listening to the combined signal. So I've kind of been able to bring out a bit of the air in the sides without really forcing the cymbals to become over dominant in the overall signal. A very powerful tool, one that is not always appropriate to use on everything, for example, but in mastering it really gives you some options that can be very, very helpful. There's also a reasonably resonant sound lurking in here somewhere. It's kind of a singing resonance in the low mids. And from messing about earlier on, I figured out that it's kind of in this area. You can hear that noise that I'm really boosting now. It's kind of like a type resonance sound that's kind of overstepping its welcome, in my opinion. And what I can do is remove a little bit of that in the mono section, whereas it's not so much a problem in the sides, so I'll leave the sides as they are. So as a result, I'm cutting out unwanted information in the mono section, but leaving the stereo section untouched, so it's less destructive than just cutting the overall signal. I can also add a little bit of bass while cutting out some low mids with this bass shift function on the Brainworks BX EQ. And there's also a mono maker which transforms information from the sides below this set frequency and turns it into mono information. It's very useful for bass. This track seems to have quite a wide bass, which perhaps isn't helpful, so I can also high pass filter that. But as you can see, this is a powerful tool in mastering, and it gives you a very valuable insight into the stereo field of your track. So there we have it. That's a brief look at mid-side EQ, a very valuable tool, something that I would use reasonably often at Glowcast. But it's very important not to overdo it with this. This won't be appropriate on everything. You can use this in your mix on stereo tracks. You can use this at mastering. But the most important thing is not to overdo it, because mastering is about respecting the audio and complementing it, and not just boosting and cutting and adding changes for the sake of doing so. This type of EQ should be treated with a bit of caution and a bit of restraint. If there are nice areas in the song that you'd like to enhance in the sides, for example, then this is perfect. Or if there's problematic resonant frequencies in either the sides or the mono section, this is perfect again. And it's always, I find, useful to open this on a mastering project and at least have a look between the sides and the center channel, just to see what information's there and what your song is telling you. So there we have it. That's a brief look at mid-side EQ. Enjoy.